Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, February 8th, 2020. I was going to say 2023, and then in my mind, I went, no, that's not right. But that is right. I don't know. Anyway, I am so glad you are here today because there's other people here in the show with me today. Well, one other person, but she's a really good other person. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking to Stephanie Young from So Stephanie Says and Siser NA today. And I'm so excited, and I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to pop her in here. Yay, Stephanie!
So what's funny is today I had to write my first check of the year, the first time, and I had to think about, is it 2023? So I am so on the page with you today.
Well, I don't know why. I think it threw me off because in my head, I intended to say 2023, and then I started saying 2000, and I couldn't, my brain couldn't make the leap, I guess. So I just have to say, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited you're here. You don't even know.
Well, I'm so excited to be here because, you know, we chat, but now we get to see each other and we get to see and talk to everybody else out there. So, hey, everybody else out there.
Yep. Hey, everybody else out there. And everybody else out there is, let's see. Cindy says, hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Cindy. I hope you're loving the new cutter.
Oh, yeah. Well, she also won a box of scraps from somewhere too, that she said. So she's going to have fun with that. And then we do have a Facebook user, and this is a StreamYard thing. If StreamYard will not show your name, go to streamyard.com/Facebook and you can give them permission, and then they'll tell us who you are. But whoever Facebook user is, they say, good afternoon. So excited to see you both. So that's always nice. And I will hit hellos if time permits, but honestly, I'd rather talk than, I'm glad you're all here. Don't get me wrong. And thank you for saying hello. But I'm guessing whoever, Lisa Shaw, it was Lisa Shaw that is Facebook user. And she claims that StreamYard doesn't like her.
Lisa should know that better than any of us, right?
Yes. But she claims StreamYard doesn't like her. So I don't know. And I keep telling her that it does, but she doesn't believe it. And Cindy says, I am loving the cutter and the scraps. Thank you, Siser. So that's very exciting. Now we were talking before the show, and I want to follow up on what we were talking about, because I think this is an issue that isn't discussed enough by the people that are running the events or being the educators, which is, we love the people who want to learn from us. We love the people who come to our events, but the customer service aspect of it. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because from the standpoint of, I guess, what we would like attendees or, students or whatever to know, maybe, without, using some of the language that we used before the show. I don't do that anymore because I was taken to task for having a potty mouth on the show, so I don't do it anymore. But I guess if you had one thing that you could tell people who come to your events or come to your webinars or your lives or whatever you're doing, what would you tell them?
Oh, so that's one of my favorite kind of topics, actually. And, I love to educate. I love to talk all the time. I love talking. I love teaching. And so the very first thing that I always would tell a student, be willing to learn, because some people come to your classes, but they're not really willing to learn. They're just kind of filling a seat. They're there because somebody signed them up or their friend was coming, but they really don't want to learn. So the first thing I would always say is be willing to learn. Second, if somebody asks you to read something, please read it. And that just sounds, so basic. But a lot of times, I will have said something, I'll have it in writing, and the very first question is the number one thing on the first line that I has to read. And so I will, repeat it just like I'm sure you will say it.
Mhm.
But it's the whole rest of the class that really I feel is like, just read what she asked you to. So for me, it's not as much sometimes impatience of myself. It's feeling it from the rest of the crew that I'm teaching. So like if there's, 30 people in the room and you have that one person that just
Mhm.
they don't read and they ask and you can kind of feel. So to me, come wanting to learn and to read whatever it is that's been asked. And it's not like it's a book. It's usually, 5 things or one
Mhm.
thing even. So what would you say?
I think my biggest thing is kind of part of it is piggybacking on what you said, which is come ready to learn, but come with an open mind too.
Mhm.
Because I have encountered people at various times who are just they either heard something from another instructor that they really like, or they just have this idea that whatever way they think is the way it should be done is the only way that and you can almost spot those people in the audience if you're doing a seminar because they're just watching you like, what the hell are you even talking about? They're just looking at you like, I don't buy any of this and I'm not interested. And so that's one thing is if you're coming to the class, be ready to learn and be open-minded about what you're hearing. You don't have to agree with all of it. And I love a good back and forth discussion as much as anybody does. But at least be open to the possibility that what the person who's teaching is saying is, at least a little bit right.
So,
Just a little bit right. And the other thing I think is something that I know because a lot of people that I know because of what I do are instructors in one form or another. And the number of details that people have to manage for a webinar or an event, or especially an on site event where people are coming in, there's lunches and there's just read the stuff and do the things you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to sign up for lunch, if you're supposed to download a handout, whatever it is, do those things, please, please, please. And I want to hit a couple comments real quick. Cindy says, Siser has great customer service. I could not get myself registered on my cutter and they helped. And Lisa says, I believe that reading the prerequisite spurs on new questions. And I think she's right about that.
and to me, I agree. And Caesar does have excellent customer service, and education is number one for us. So
Mm.
I say this as an employee, but I also say it as a consumer. I feel like sometimes somebody will have a question and they go to a group and they'll get 50 answers to where I'm like, we give you that information. One of the things that I love to say, I'm pulling it up on my phone just so I can show, everybody, we have an app.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like having an instructor there with you because all the information's there. We, are not bashful on giving information, and we try to give it in every type of form. So that's kind of what I love about a company that really, really educates, because we do videos, we do blogs, we do Facebook
Mm-hmm.
support. Education for Caesar is everywhere. And we have, YouTube, and you have TikTok. So we try to make it, but every one of us kind of teaches a little bit differently, just like
Sure.
you can see, when we're at shows. I feel like we've had virtual for so long, people are hungry to be back in person, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to let go of virtual. So now we're really having a marriage of virtual and real life, which is great. We reach more people that way, but our mindsets are totally different. You and I both know virtual brings one set of problems and
Mm-hmm.
issues and fun things. but then being in person brings a whole nother set of fun things and problems at the same time.
Well, and I think there's also, and Cindy just asked, are we talking about student etiquette or customer service? It's kind of a combo platter, Cindy. We started on one and we've sort of moved to the other now.
Yep.
But I think one of the things that is the thing that you have to balance is that everybody who comes to see your seminar or comes to your show or whatever it is, they may have paid money, maybe they didn't, but either way, they have an expectation of a level of service and what they're going to receive. And that's like, and some people, how do I put this politely? Some people have a little larger expectation than others.
Yeah.
Or they maybe their expectation is a bit unrealistic. Was that nice?
That was an excellent way of putting that, because I
Okay.
said sometimes we're on, a budget of the back of the plane versus first class.
Right.
And to me, that plane is going regardless which seat you have. But I kind of feel like that's sometimes our expectations. The plane's still going if we're in this seat or this seat. And it's a mental thing for some people.
Yeah.
And some people come to the event and they're just happy to be there. And some people come and you can feel like they're ready to rumble.
Yeah. I think there are some people who come specifically with there's something they already don't like for whatever the reason. And it could be, and I find this happens sometimes, and I don't know if you've encountered this, but I find this happens sometimes if people have a particular instructor or method or something that they're just really, really loyal to. And if you kind of encroach on that turf somehow, they're like, for her,
And I feel like sometimes it's just personality that, some people gravitate to one type. And when you're not that type, and that's the one that I kind of love because I'm going to win them over. And that's almost like, I'm like, I'm on to you. You don't love me, but by the end, I'm going to make you love me. Because, like I said, I feel like there's so many different ways to teach. And I try, if you know me, I try to kind of hit all of them while I'm teaching because I want people to have that knowledge. And I'm really, really excited about whatever I'm teaching. I don't know how somebody can teach something they don't love because I love what I teach. I'm really passionate about it. And I want everybody else to share in that. I kind of, so the grumpy person that starts off, I'm going to win them over. It's my mission.
Now, see, I think that's funny because I want to put a comment from Lisa up first, but Lisa says, agree on expectations. It's a lot of pressure to put on an instructor to bestow expert advice after an hour-long class.
Yeah.
And she's right. And she also says, we love you, Stephanie. Your enthusiasm is contagious.
And a lot of people know me out there, and this is how I am on everything. So it's not an act. I really do get excited. I get passionate about it.
Oh, I think the best instructors do.
And Lisa knows she was the first person that I took a class from for embroidery software. And I was like, bowing down to her. And because I just loved her and still love the way she teaches and the way she explains. And so you kind of model, after you take classes from people. And I find certain things that I'll do. I'd be like, that would be something she would do. That would be something she would do. That would be something he would do even. Because like I said, I want to give everybody the best bang for their buck. But it is a lot of pressure. Sometimes that, sometimes we don't feel great and we're in a classroom and you've had somebody that just is trying to, to test your patience, to say it, to try to test your patience. And they don't take credence. And we are the expert for that moment. We are. That's, we've put time, we've put hours, we've put passion into. And so for me, probably when somebody doubts my expertise is probably what hurts my feelings the most.
I just think it's funny because one thing that I had to learn, which I think is why my approach is a little different than yours, is that I had to learn that I wasn't going to please everybody because I was like the queen of the everybody's got to like me. Oh my, and when I started doing seminars, I was so scared and I had to get over that and just be like, this is me and I'm not for everybody and that's okay. I will, if you're in my class, I'm going to do my best to reach you. I'm going to do my best to teach you, but I get that I'm an acquired taste for some people and that's all right. You
So
know?
that's funny because I feel like I'm a little bit of acquired taste. So yeah, so I think that I I do want people to like, but that's I don't care if they like me. I want them to like my presentation.
Yeah, I get that. And I do understand that, but I think I just had to because of stuff that I was working through and I just had to kind of get to this place where I was like I'm going to go in, I'm going to do the very best I can do. I'm going to be prepared, I'm going to be ready, I'm going to be entertaining, but I'm going to be me.
Right.
And if me doesn't work for you, that's I can be okay with that. And I think it was just an adjustment in needing that approval from everybody.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of therapy with myself, and we're getting more comments here. I love all these comments. Lisa says, yes, that's why all the best teachers continue to take classes.
Mm-hmm.
We're always learning. I think that's true. And I think Cindy is talking about the fact that we were talking about having to babysit people earlier. And she says, that's sad because aren't we adults? I can
No.
see with children, but no, not everyone is an adult. And go ahead. Lisa is joining us and saying she's an acquired taste and happy to be in such great company. We should have just got
Lisa and bumped her right in here with us today because we all are the same tribe.
Well, it's probably getting to be about time for her to come back on the show anyway, because she usually shows up about once or twice a year. And Lillian says, hi, Stephanie and Christine. I think you are both great teachers. Thank you, Lillian. That's very sweet. And but I think this is something that instructors don't talk about. And I also want to just, since we're already kind of on the topic, I do want to talk a little bit about as women and women instructors, female instructors, do you think we feel more pressure to be likable or to have our classes like us than or do you think guys face it too? Or I don't know.
Well, actually, I can say 100% guys do too. Because, I have we have, male instructors at Siser. I've worked with a lot of males in embroidery. And I kind of thought that it was a female, but all of my male instructors that I'm friends with say that even more so because a lot of times they're teaching to a largely female audience.
Oh, I never thought of that.
That they want to be liked and respected because they're a male in what they think is a female craft.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at, when we're at Everything Embroidery Market, a vast majority female attendees. So how are the male instructors there? So I can speak for male instructors at Siser that I know that they kind of worry and put the same thought into it that we do. So we don't have full reign on that one. I think it's universal. We both sexes really do worry about doing the best of their job and how the audience perceives them.
That's actually, I like that perspective because I have a tendency to think, oh, as women, we're conditioned to want to be more likable and to want to have people think we're good and, respect us and all that. But I think, there's something, because I know we had male instructors at Applique Getaway last year in Texas, and their experience is a little different. So, but I think they do have the same, they want to be liked and they want to do a good presentation and all that stuff. So that's a good perspective. I like that. I like that a lot. I wish I could have you at AG this year, but I know you have a conflict. So
and I'm still trying. I'm like, I actually reached out to somebody today to see about if I can finagle something, but so far no. But I'm trying because
Oh, I
I want to
appreciate
be
that
there.
because we would love to have you hang out with us in person. Plus, I happen to know there's plans for a great wine getaway, so you should be part of that.
Wine and coffee, and I'm there.
Yep. Yep, definitely. Well, I keeping on the education theme, one of the things I saw when I was looking at your social media was that you had done a presentation for, I don't know the name of the high school because all it said in the post was LCHS, I believe.
Right.
But I want to ask you, when you bring people into this industry, do you think we're doing it well?
Well, I could say that it is my life's mission now to really, because that is our future. I really feel like that corny kind of a song, "The children are our future."
Right.
But now, I mean, there's so many opportunities in our high school, in our, colleges, of classes that you and I never had the
Yeah.
opportunities for. I mean, they didn't exist. And, it's so wonderful to get to go into some of these tech programs and even, programs that never even thought they needed our material. I can let them know that they do need our
Right.
material. And it's, we have so many kids that are doing side hustles, and they know how to revamp clothing, and it's just another way to help them brand. And can you tell how excited I am about it?
Mhm.
Because we have some things coming in the near future that I'll even get to share more about, but that's part of it. It's really about us as Siser educating at the high school and college level, and not just about our product, but, platforms that you can sell on
Mhm.
and how to make a profit. And, maybe you want Etsy, or maybe you want Spotify, or maybe you want just a whole plethora of things to really reach that, to me, that market that kind of sometimes gets pushed because they're just kids.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine's son started when he was 11, and he had a silhouette, and I started, teaching him some classes. He just turned 17, and he bought his first car with the money that he had done with selling t-shirts and selling mugs and selling things. And he got his Boy Scout badges. There's so many things that are, and organizations that are out there that we can help with. And me, I love my embroidery. And classes now have embroidery machines in them.
I know.
So
Well, in
I'm showing them another way they can use them.
but what really kills me is these kids that are like, I don't know how familiar you are with the embroidery nerds, but
Mhm.
Jeff Fuller, his son Adam, is 11, and he runs his own company.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
and
love his.
he's amazing. He taught at Applique Getaway last
Yep.
year, and I mean, he's 11.
And like I said,
And I
it's
just look at
amazing.
those kids and think, man, if I had had that back when I was 11, where would I be now?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
that's, to me, that's just a passion that I have. And so, we had talked about bio earlier. I'm going to give
Mhm.
you my quick bio. I was a teacher that didn't like parents. I love teaching kids. I hate parents. And I got stabbed in the leg by a kid, and
Ooh.
I got lead poisoning. And I decided that teaching might not be the thing for me. And so I went back to school and I got my nursing degree. And I've been a wound care nurse for many years. And I did embroidery and vinyl and things on the side. And then I decided that I was ready for a change. And this is who I am now.
Mhm.
So I've always been a teacher at heart. I've taught nursing classes, I've taught elementary, I've taught. So that's in my blood. But I just feel like that passion for that high school age, beginning college age, even to where you're kind of on the cusp of what you can be, to let people have their creativity. And because we've taken so much out of schools, we've taken arts
Mm.
and we've taken a lot of things away. I want to be that ray that comes back in to inspire, just to be creative. We have enough
Mhm.
pressures already. And, we're trying to decide colleges and financial aid and, passing state exams, to where this, I think, is another avenue to kind of let somebody be creative and maybe have that little bit of outlet. So
Well, and I think it's also there are kids who maybe don't want to be lawyers or don't want to be doctors or don't want to run they don't want to be like in a corporate business setting. They want to
right.
go out on their own and they want to do their own things. And this is a way to give those kids opportunities
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, when I was in school, which granted was a while ago, it was, college was you were on the advanced track and then you went to college and I have always wanted to be a writer since I was like 6. So I was like, I can do that now.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to college for journalism and then I ended up with degrees in business and marketing. Don't ask me how. And and now I do whatever it is that I'm doing.
And, to me, that's why I love, because I feel like our fields in garment and decorating,
Mhm.
there's so many different things that we can do. And that's why, we go to events and we all teach something different, but we're all doing the same type of thing.
Mhm.
But I feel like sometimes people don't like the competition. I feel like the more the merrier. Let's all make, how do I end all the time? Let's just make beautiful things. I just want us to make
Mhm.
beautiful things and to be happy.
Well, and I think that's, I work with Lindsay Salcido on Applicate Getaway, but I also work with her for Linny Penny.
Hmm.
And people say to me, well, there's so many design companies out there. And I'm like, yeah, but the aesthetic of the designer for each one is
Right.
different. Like Urban Threads is really different than Linny Penny. That's different than, Embroidery Library or whatever it is. So you find the ones that you like and you buy from those.
Hmm.
So it doesn't matter if there's 5 million of them out there. They're not all,
Hmm.
hopefully, they're not all the same.
Well, that's just it. They're not the same, and each one's going to speak to you for a different reason or
Right.
even a different time in your life. Because when my kids were young and I was doing little boy appliques and doing things like that,
Mm-hmm.
versus now, you know, I might get by with, they'll have some embroidered towels. But that'd be, there's a lot that I can't get by with that when they were younger. So I feel like sometimes our tastes change and the area that we're in, or if people start having grandkids, suddenly they're back to doing the cute
Mm-hmm.
kids things. And for me, that's just, it's an easy gift to be able to go in and type in and go to Lenny Penny, and I love the font. So
Mm-hmm.
that font's on more and more things every single day. I should turn my machine a little bit because I have that font that was stitching earlier. So we know that font is phenomenal.
Yeah, the faux chenille has kind of taken a lot of people by storm. They really, and what's really awesome is there are more versions coming. I'm so excited.
I
But
have two. Yeah.
there's going to be at least 2 or 3 more, I think. And Lindsay's probably sitting somewhere right now going, no,
Look,
because they're a lot of work, but they're so cool when they're done. I know there will be a Greek one. I will say that. But so I'm very excited about that. But I think that's the thing that's very it let me talk about this from my perspective a little bit, just because I want to ask you about this. I don't do any of this stuff that you guys do. I don't do vinyl, I don't embroider, I don't do rhinestones, I don't do anything. Never have. And honestly, really don't want to.
oh, wait a minute. You may have to retrieve me. I'm now
Did I
passed out.
stab you in the heart? Well, I mean, pretty much everybody who watches the show regularly knows my story, but I got hired to be a marketer for
Right?
an embroidery company and then kind of got sucked into the industry. And I'm really good at learning stuff, so I can write about things and all, but I don't do any of it.
Right?
And I think that's one of the things, and I want to ask if this has been your experience. That's one of the things that I think is really amazing about this industry is that, and maybe it's because I've been around for a while, but it doesn't seem to phase anybody that I don't do what you guys do, but yet I'm still out there writing for magazines and doing seminars, but I don't, at the same time, I don't do seminars about, hey, let's do embroider, because I don't know how to do that. But I want to ask you, has that been your experience, that it's been a really kind of inclusive industry?
No, I don't feel like it is. Because I feel like, I guess vinyl is used in so many different ways that to me we touch different types of people, genres, and religions and races and everything. So I feel like it's kind of wide open, that it is not inclusive, because it's what I love using it for would not be what somebody else, like, you've seen my stuff. I like kind of outside the box. I love doing shoes. I love doing, denim jackets.
Oh, I want the bee umbrella. I would just like to go on record as saying that.
I like kind of, a little bit different, a little edgier, to where, I travel all across the US, and I love seeing our product used in so many different ways. So I kind of feel like we're global and not inclusive.
Okay, so I would say, so I think I see what you're saying, is that there's a lot of different tents you can be under, but you can find your tent.
Right.
Whatever. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll go with that. I understand that. And I think you're right, because there are people who are very, they like a certain type of embroidery, or they like a certain type of rhinestone, or they like and they can find their tribe that likes whatever they like, or they like very traditional embroidery as opposed to like the more out there designs or whatever it is. See, I like the more out there stuff, but
yeah, I want to be in everybody's tribe, because I love rhinestones, I love embroidery, I love vinyl, but I love all three of them together. So yeah. I'm going to be bilingual, and trilingual, just because I like speaking each of those languages and putting them together, to where other people are like, oh, okay, I didn't think that you could do that. And I really, I got into embroidery, and I had seen, you did your large monogram, and then it had rhinestones around it. That was kind of a trend several years ago. Well, then I didn't always want to have rhinestones. I wanted vinyl. And so we started doing the faux rhinestones with HTV, and using the holographic from Siser. So that kind of put me into a different tribe. So I'm always wanting to try to mix them up a little bit.
Well, I honestly do. I will say this. I think the reason that I have meshed with this industry as well as I have, even though I don't do what you all do, is the creativity that everybody has. My creativity is there. It's just different than yours.
But yours is there in words, to where if you ask me, and earlier one of the person, Lily, was on here, and Lily is a beautiful writer. And so when I have things, I ask Lily, I will send her a paragraph, and I'll say things like, make it pretty, because she is very creative in our industry and with words. To you, you're creative with words.
I have friends who do the same thing to me. They'll send me something and say, can you rewrite this and make it different?
Yeah.
I'm like, so yeah.
To me, being a writer is very creative, because, and to me, it's almost harder, because I see and do it and kind of can write it. Not really. You're seeing it, but you're not doing it and writing it. So I think that's a little bit harder.
I don't know about that, but I think what's fun though is that it's all creative. And that's the thing that I think is the most fun about meeting people in this industry. And the other thing is just how passionate everybody is about whatever the thing is that they love, whatever your tribe is. Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing though, because there are people who go through life and they never maybe find their thing, or
Mhm.
they half-heartedly do something because they were told they were supposed to like it or whatever it was. And I want to be around people that are passionate about
Yeah.
stuff, you know?
And to me, the difference of being at a nurse's station at 2 in the morning versus being in the middle of a retreat or an event at 2 in the morning, two totally different things.
Oh, totally.
And guess which one I like much better?
Yeah, well, that was probably one of the best things about, well, I think it's one of the best things about Applicant Getaway every year. But the first year I went, because they didn't know me from Adam at that point. They'd only seen me doing vendor voices videos or whatever, but everybody just embraced me, and was very kind about the work that I'd done. And I was just like, okay, this is pretty cool. I don't know. I think I like that there's this kind of attitude of, you're welcome to join our tribe and you're
Mhm.
welcome to look around until you find the tribe that works for you. I think that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I don't feel like we have snobbery in our tribe. I feel like it's a come on, join the crew. The only time you might have a little bit when it comes to brands of machines that people use. You might see
Yeah,
it then a little bit, but I feel like it's a very welcoming community. And, like I said, that's why I feel like we're kind of universal, is because there are so many different types and things that we can do that make us say, come join us, come sit, come, you know. And for us, people like you and me, we not only do we say come, we're like, come and let me show you something, you
right.
know.
Come and let me tell you what's
Yeah.
happening today. Oh, let's see. We've got a couple more questions here. Another Facebook user saying Stephanie is great.
Thank you, whoever you are.
And Stephanie sent me some super cool multimedia designs or projects. And I know multimedia is your big thing. So I want to talk about that for a minute, because in my past life, I worked for a supplier. And one of the things that we always talked about was creating, which we never ended up doing because of reasons, but creating a project that used polyester embroidery thread and sublimation and maybe some kind of vinyl or rhinestones, and do this big multimedia
I've done all those.
thing.
Check, check,
Yes,
check.
together.
Yes. So,
Oh,
and Cindy Hogan is a brother educator, beautiful woman. Don't you probably know her, but she and I did a live together because polyester thread is 100, it's 100%
yep.
polyester.
You can
So
sublimate it.
we stitched and subbed on top of it. So that was one part of the bag. And then we did faux rhinestones going out from it. So that
Mm.
way we could try. And then just as a highlight, we were showing how to use a camera feature, and we embroidered on top of it to give it dimension. So it was almost like everybody put stuff in a bag and we grabbed stuff out and we're like, I see you, that project. And we were
And
unfolding
here's
like
something else.
sublimation, embroidery, this. But yes, so and sometimes people, and this is something going back to classrooms, and you tell me, you'll run into somebody and they'll say, oh, I've always been afraid to try that. I have found in our world, there's two types of people. You let me know. Type one, buy something and you'll hear them go, I've had that in a box for a year. Type two is me, that drives with her knee as she's really trying to open the box while she's driving home because I can't stand it, because we've got to get this out of the box.
Yep.
So for me, unless it's going to personally cause me bodily harm, I'm going to try it. I'm going to embroider on wood. I'm going to sublimate. I'm going to vinyl. I'm going to do this and this. And maybe I need to wear goggles, but that's it. I want to really test those boundaries to see what can we mix and how can we add things together.
Mm.
I love textures. I mean, textures to me, I'm that person that cannot walk through a store if you handcuffed me, I would fall over because I have to touch it. I want to
Right.
feel it. I want to pet it.
Mhm.
And I want my projects to be that way. So do you find the same thing that people are either it's been in a box for a year, scared to try something, or somebody like me that thinks a chemistry set's just kind of a suggestion?
Well, you made me laugh really hard because, like I said, in my former life, I was marketing director for a supply company. And one of the things that we sold was sublimation printers
Mhm.
from Sawgrass. And we would get people at shows, especially, who would go, "Oh, this isn't that much." And it might be, and they'd see all the cool stuff we had in the booth and they go, "Oh, I'll get one of these. This is really cool." And they'd buy it. And then 6 months later, 9 months later, a year later, we'd get a call and they go, "Will this still work? Because it's been sitting in my workroom or it's been sitting in the corner of my living room or wherever for a year." And we're like, and I used to write about it and say, if you're not going to, why are you letting this intimidate you? What
Yeah.
is the worst thing that could happen to you? You ruin something. Everybody ruins something at some
Yeah.
point. I mean, if you're a writer, how many pieces of, well, I don't throw away paper anymore, but how many paragraphs have I deleted or
Yeah.
how many, that's how it works. So, but yeah, the number of people that would buy things or people who would call us and say, "Can I return this stuff? Because I bought an embroidery machine, but now I'm thinking I really don't want to do embroidery." And I'm like, maybe you should have figured that out before you got the machine in your house. I don't know.
And in some machines, I know, like for me, some of those machines were what I paid for a car. And
Oh, yeah.
I have taught people lessons, and somebody out there might have even be listening to this. They had bought to me an equivalent of a car and had not got it out of the box in a year.
Oh,
And I'm
yep.
like, I would never buy a car and let it sit in my garage for a year without, I couldn't fathom that, to where some people, I think it takes a lot to make that decision and then they buy it and then they're scared to death.
Yep.
So for everybody out there, please don't be scared to death. Call me, text me,
No,
I will help you.
no. And honestly, like I said, because of my former life, I know this for a fact. If you buy something from a company, they will support you. If they're worth their salt at all, they'll have
Yeah.
customer service. I spent hours on the phone with people walking them through things, and our sublimation expert did the same thing. That was part of the deal or the covenant or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
When you buy something from us, you get taken care of. And I want to just, we have a vote for Cindy Hogan being a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Cindy
She
finally
is
got to meet
wonderful.
her.
I'm blessed to call her a friend.
Well, I know her name. I have never met her, so but I do know her.
She would be part of our tribe because she's got that same quirkiness.
Oh boy, sounds like I should get her on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you know
Definitely.
her, make an intro. I'll
Okay,
talk
I'll
to
do
her. I
that.
love it.
We'll get that going.
And hello, Nikki. It's nice to see
Hi,
you.
Nikki.
Nikki's another one of our tribe as well.
And for Nikki, I can't say like, "Hi, Nikki." I feel like you have to yell it because she's got that big personality.
She does, but she's fun. I mean, that's been, I think, one of the huge blessings of doing this show and working with Applique Getaway and all that stuff is the people that I've gotten to meet. Because I wouldn't know you had we not done
Right.
virtual. I would not have met Nikki. I don't remember how I met Nikki originally. But I think she won an award. She won a Reggie, and I had her on the show. That's what it was.
Well,
And
I was lucky. I met her at a conference that she was teaching and I was teaching, and then our paths kind of if I'm somewhere, she's somewhere, and she will always come say, "All right, hi." I'll always go to her and say hi, and then
yeah.
we support each other. We support each other virtually at each other's stuff.
Yep, well, and that's another awesome thing. Now, I want to touch on this really quick, and then we have to have a little bit of book discussion
Oh yeah.
because you keep saying books, and I'm like, yes, I want to talk about books. And I'm also trying to keep the sun out of my face now because I should have left that blind shut, but I didn't. But I want to talk about this, which is the level of Nikki does a great thing with what she calls the sibling tribes or the sister tribes. Women in Garment Decoration is one. Our Lenny Penny Facebook group is one, where we all kind of support each other and hype each other's stuff and talk about what everybody's doing. But I think that's something that's, I don't know how I want to put this. It seems a little unique about this industry, maybe, because I think a lot of industries you're not going to see like Nestle and Mars, touting each other's candy bars. It's not going to happen. I couldn't think of two companies that made this. Or, Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble or something. There we go. That's a better one. So I just wanted to ask you about that. Has that been your experience?
Definitely been my experience. And because I feel like we all build and we support, and it's not even, that kind of cutesy, like, oh, women power lifting each other. I think it's human power. I think that we all, we see each other. And even when we haven't met, we know each other. And even everybody kind of vouches for the other person. And it's like, let's build each other up. I was at an
Keep
event.
talking.
And
I'm going to go shut this blind real quick.
Okay, go ahead. You go
I'll
shut.
be right back.
But I do feel like we lift each other and support each other in groups and classes at events. And I was recently at an event and had something tragic happen. My brother passed away while I was at an event. Ooh. And I immediately had 3 educators come to me and say, I looked to see what you were teaching. What can I help with? And I don't feel like awesome. In the corporate world, I don't feel like in other environments that you would have that level of, somebody, one of them's husband came and prayed with me. And it was just overwhelming support. And I believe, the company that I represent, we have a great name. And I believe that myself and the other educators, we all have always tried to help each other. Right. But that was a time when this is an educator. She's like, I don't know anything about embroidery, but I can do this part of a class for you. Yeah. And that's when I really felt like I knew that in this industry, we had each other's back no matter what. And I mean that, like, that's almost one of those, like, my eyes feel watery when I say it, because having those educators come and be like, what can we do? Right. I don't think in other industries you would see that. It'd be like, oh, good, maybe somebody will sign up for my class because she might not be teaching. And I think that some people are, some industries might have been that way, but I really feel like we are very lucky that we all do build up each other.
Well, I think and I like this, what Nikki said. I wanted to share this real quick. The world spends enough time ripping us apart. Be kind, be human, be neighborly. And I think that is right. But I also think the sun is driving me nuts. So I'm going to lean sideways, even though it's weird.
Here, just do this. Look.
Yeah, I need to figure out. The sun just does not want to cooperate with me. I'm so glad to see you, sun. Don't go away. But it doesn't want to cooperate with me. But what I wanted to say was, I think our ability to form connections in this industry is really amazing, because there are people that I have never met in person that I feel like, okay, this person would have my back if I needed them to, which you can't say about everywhere or everything or everyone. So I think that's a really nice thing about this industry, and I love it. Okay. So I don't want to make like a really hard segue, but I really do, because I want to talk about books for a minute, because I don't get to talk about books very often. I'm actually thinking of starting another podcast called Reading and Ranting because I want to talk
Ooh.
about books.
And so you work for a great company when like we get points for reading books.
Ooh,
And
I
they don't
like
care
it.
what we read. They just are glad that we spend time and kind of whatever our genre is. So you're gonna laugh because these were not planted here, but these just had come in.
Oh my goodness. Are
So
those travel guides or?
yes, they're all travel guides. I love Rick Steves. And so there was a bookstore going out. And so I bought all these different ones because I'm planning a trip. And so
Ooh,
then
how
I was like,
exciting.
well, I might go there sometime. So my book reading this last week. Okay, first of all, let me back up. Are you a one book at a time type of person or a 3 books at a time?
I have multiple books going all the time, and it kind of depends. Usually there's like one nonfiction, one biography or historical something, and then maybe a romance novel, and then maybe like a more literary sort of novel.
Yes.
So I can have 4, 5, 6, 8 going at one time. It depends on what I want to read. And then whatever I'm reading for whatever research I'm doing for whatever I have to write or teach or whatever it is.
I usually have something that's kind of motivational. I'm going to say something motivational reading
Right.
and some type of maybe a Bible study type of reading, something that I can kill you and hide you kind of reading.
Right.
And then, and, I used to not really like historical, but now suddenly I'm really liking historical, especially the places that I've been
Mm-hmm.
or fiction that's kind of historical. So was blessed to go to Paris right before COVID. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I have gone back to, because I'm missing it and I want to go back. I've been reading anything kind of Paris related.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you seen the movie Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris?
I know of it. I've never seen it.
Well, don't see it, get the book because the book is so good.
Okay.
So I'm reading Mrs. Harris, but then I have my travel guide, and it's almost like when they mention something in the book, I'm looking it up to learn more in depth
Right.
about it. So I'm driving myself a little crazy because I literally have 2 of them going. I'm reading, and then I'm like, oh, is that a real place? Let me see.
Oh, oh, that's funny. Well, I read almost anything and everything pretty much. And like I said, I have multiple books going at the same time. Just finished reading a book by Alice Hoffman, and the name escapes me at the moment. And I wish An Uncommon Woman, I believe it's called.
I've not read
And
that, but I've read she's one of my favorite authors.
she's good. She's really good. And if you only know her from Practical Magic, look for some of the other
Yeah,
stuff that
no,
she's done.
that's probably on my lower end of her list.
Yeah,
After reading
she's
others.
really good. Her and, well, I mean, good Lord, the number, well, I couldn't even list all the writers I like because we'd be here for like decades, but you don't want to know how many books are on my Kindle. Let's just put it that way.
I feel like, I have to dump some because there's so many on there. And
Yeah,
I've got my phone because I'm trying to look at the name of a book that I just finished. I know it's called Educated, but I don't know the whole name of it.
is that a memoir or is that
It
a?
was.
I think you might be right. It's just Educated because I think I've read it. It's about a girl who grew up with the family and she ended up
Tara
going to like
Westover.
Oxford or something.
Yes, Tara
Yeah, that's just,
Westover, and she's an author now.
yes.
But yeah, she was started out like with a Mormon survivalist family,
Yeah.
and I just finished that one, and it was phenomenal. So if anybody hadn't read that,
that's really good. I read that a while ago. I just finished a book. I can't remember the author's name. I didn't love that one, and we'll skip that one. What? I'm trying to think of a memoir that I read that I thought was really awesome recently, but I can't think of. I don't know. Anyway, let me ask you this. because we're getting close to the end of our time together here. Who's your ultimate favorite author?
I can't answer, because my ultimate right this moment, next year when I read a different book, that will become my favorite author. Forever it was Dean Koontz. Anything he wrote, the moment it came out, I would have to have it. Kindle changed my life. And especially when you finish a book at 2 a.m. and you know this feeling, and it's a sequel. And, you know, in the old world, we would have to go to the bookstore and we would have, I'm like instant download, buy it now.
Yep.
It's 2:03 and I now have the sequel.
Speaking as someone who aspires to write books at some point or is working on writing books, that's like the boon to an author, because if you write a series and somebody likes it, okay, this sun is just driving me nuts here. Here we go. Now we're there. Okay. You can get people who will buy every, there are series I've read where I've bought 5 or 6 books at a time because I knew I was going to want to read the whole series. Now, granted, some people's series as they go along get not so great. I loved the first like 6 or 7 Stephanie Plum books. And then I kind of got over that because they were basically the same story, just over and over.
It became cookie
cutter. Yeah, it was totally. And I was like, I got really disappointed because the first ones were kind of original and fun. And then I felt like, well, she knows the formula now. So she's just doing the same thing every time.
Yeah, that's why I said my authors change, because I might be enamored with somebody and she would have been one. And then after a while, it was like, I think we're breaking up now. I'm kind of, I replace her with somebody else. So and even a genre of books, I change, daily. I will have something in the morning and something to me, books are like movies for some people. It plays in my head. This is one of those admissions, I kid you not. I can close a book and set it and I'll be like, I wonder how Christine is. I wonder if and they're so real. I have to pick up the book because I'm like worried. I'm like, oh, I need to find out what happened. But they're in my head like they're real.
Oh,
and I didn't realize that everybody doesn't read that way. It's just certain types of people read to where it's the movie script. Some people hear words. I see motion picture as I'm reading it.
I end up with half of me reads it as a reader and half of me reads it as a writer. And so if the person who's writing the book does something that I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't have done that, or I would have said this. So I will rewrite people's pages sometimes because I'm like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, that would be yet another voice in my head. I don't need more voices in my head.
Oh, I don't need any more voices in my head. I have enough characters in my head talking to me now that people would think I'm crazy, but I don't know if I ever get them down on paper, which I'm getting closer, I think. So we'll see. But I don't know. Writing nonfiction is easier for me than writing fiction. So, but
it's kind of like getting that machine out of the box. You just have to do it, right?
Yes. And that's the part. I think I built it up in my head so much that I just have I've got to get over the hump and just write something down and go, okay, this is going to suck when you start, but it'll be better, because everybody's first draft sucks.
Yeah.
So
just do it.
I don't just do it. There you go. Like Nike. But I love talking books. I think reading I taught myself to read when I was 4, was one of the best things I ever learned, I have to say. And even though it gave my parents fits, because they were like, go outside and play, be a normal child. I was like, no, I don't want to.
And maybe that's why it bothers us that we get upset for a classroom setting when people don't read.
Oh.
Maybe that's a fundamental thing, that we love reading so much. I would read cereal boxes if there was nothing around. Bubblegum wrappers, even at a restaurant, I will eat and see a menu if I'm by myself, especially eating. I don't know how to not just read.
Oh yeah, if there's words around, I'm consuming them, and
yeah.
if they're not written well, I'm rewriting them. So, you
Yeah.
know.
And I am, and the second thing is I'm looking up what it means.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, I
me,
have a vocabulary that is drives some people crazy. I've had people tell me, "Don't use those words. I don't know what they mean." And I'm like, "Well, I do."
yeah. If you know them, use them. Use them.
Mhm.
But I think we have solved one of our problems today is we get upset that people just don't read because we fundamentally don't understand how you could not read.
Oh, I don't get that. People who say, "Oh, I read like a book a year." And I'm like, "How do you live?
Yeah.
What do you do?" I can't go. I have to have my quota of words every day or I get like the shakes.
So what do you think about an Audible book?
I don't like them.
Okay.
But that's partly because I used to be a singer and I'm very, very sensitive to voices and tones. So if I like the book, but the person who's reading the book has the wrong kind of
Yeah,
voice,
that makes sense.
it really turns me off. So I tend to stay away. Plus, I like forming the pictures in my head, I guess. So I like reading the words. So I don't do Audible books very often, almost never.
Well, I now love Audible books because, I'm in the car so much
Right.
that way I can't read while I'm driving. Trust me, people don't want
Right.
me to do
Right.
that. So that way it's a way for me to absorb a story
Hmm.
while I'm having to drive. And I, like everybody else on New Year's, I had a new workout commitment. So I only let myself listen to this certain book that I really like while I'm on the treadmill.
Oh, there you go.
So I will listen to it longer and I get more miles in just because I want to hear the story. So I'm going to say Audible is going to help me lose weight and be more fit. That's my
There
goal.
you go. That's I just like I said, because of my training, I am so sensitive to voices and tones and how that it just there are literally things that I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff, and there have been subjects I've been really interested in, but I couldn't watch the documentary because the person who was narrating it was just so bad.
Yeah, I've not listened to books because I don't like who read it, which was good
Right.
because it taught me, there's certain people that I like. So before I buy a book, I do the sample to hear their tone, to hear their, kind of their vibe.
Yep.
But I will kind of now know if I see a certain voice, I'm not going to buy that book, or I'm going to buy it even if it wasn't a topic that I thought I liked just because I like their voice so much.
Yeah, I will put my hand up for that too. There are some people who could talk me into anything just because I like how their voice sounds, but I shouldn't admit that because that's bad. Anyway, we are just over an hour now, and I know we could go on for a lot longer, but I don't want to take up any more of your time and any more of these lovely people's time. But thank you. And plus, the sun is making me nuts, and I don't know why it's decided to be stupid, but it has. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You don't even know. This was so fun. And I really hope you can come to Applique Getaway.
Well, we're going to see. And I thank you so much for having me on and letting me ramble and talk and be a part of the tribe for a little while.
Well, I'm getting tattooed with sunlight now, so I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyway, for those of you who want to know where Stephanie is, you can go to the Women and Business Facebook page, and I will put up links so you can find her and Siser and where she is and what she's doing and keep track of her and join her group and follow her page and whatever it is. Thank you, everybody. Next week, Ashley Cicero from Artistry will be here, and we're going to talk about all things sublimation drawing. So that'll be fun, among other things. She just had a new baby too, so that might come up at some point.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. So,
bit.
I'm glad I was before her because she would be a hard act to follow.
Well, she's another one that I've known for a long time, but have never met in person. So it's always fun to get to talk to somebody that you've had a lot of communication with, but you've never been face to face, so to speak, or face to sunlight or whatever it is. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
We will
everybody.
see you
Thank you
next
so
week.
much.
Bye.